Okay, good evening. This is the planning board meeting of Tuesday, June 2nd. As a reminder, we do not meet 2 weeks from today. We meet Wednesday, was that the 17th? June 17th, because of the tax day on June 16th. So just for all those fans who are always watching us and want to know when we will next appear, it will be on June 17th. Okay, our first item tonight is an informal appearance. This is Fortanos, 121 Pines Ridge Road. This is an application for a site development plan, application and wetlands permit for construction.
We have to open the meeting.
Motion to open the meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay. With that introduction, I was really nailing it too. So our first item is an application for a site development plan, application and wetlands permit for construction of a driveway addition, stone patio and deck replacement.
Good evening, my name is Gene Vetrano with Site Design Consultants. Joe Reno apologizes for not being here, he's awarding a scholarship at Yorktown High School and he said I attend in his behalf. We did meet with the staff, Joe and I 2 weeks ago, took their comments, recommendations and felt fairly comfortable that we added everything required. Then based on the comments that came back from both Dennis, Jeff and and Sabrina, Sabrina. I would like, I guess, address them this evening, is that the best way to handle it?
Well, why don't you refresh us what we're really looking at here?
Right, so the project initially was to replace a deteriorated deck in the rear yard. With that being said, a contractor started some work over a year ago and did some tree removals, started doing some excavation in the backyard. And with that being said, that was within the clearing and grading limits. So with that being said.
The tree removals, were those mostly in the front of the house?
No, well, what happened was he took trees down on the east side of the property and then he spread sod. So we have taken that into consideration also as dealing with that in the new mitigation plan. We had not done that in the first submission. He also, while he was excavating, he exposed a lot of rocks. There were piles of fairly large boulders in the backyard. I'm sure you visited the site. There's mulch back there, there's tree stumps. So we'd like to address that as a temporary approval of the clearing and grading line. And then once he removes everything, then go back and establish the new clearing and grading line. So it's kind of a twofold approval looking for the clearing and grading. If you look on sheet, just above the red and yellow, if you see that bubble there that's up, can I use the pointer? Thanks.
Chair?
Let's see how this works.
Maybe.
Right there, that's where there is a pile of stumps and mulch here. So we're looking to extend the clearing and grading line temporarily to that area. Once they remove everything, then now establish the new clearing and grading line, which will be right here. So it's demarcated by that hatch. There's also a pile of rocks here and here that we'd like to have removed before obviously he starts any of the other construction. With that being said, Ms. Fornellis would like to extend the parking area of the driveway. We propose to do that with the voter blocks. We included a detail in the section. It is not an impervious surface, it is pervious. We have the documentation for that, so we didn't have to include that in coverage. We're also going to propose to put Cambridge pavers in the red area and then the yellow area surrounding that, again, the voter block. We're also extending the square footage of the deck by 232 square feet. This is the existing deck that is deteriorated. So the new plans included also extending the deck and adding new stairs and a landing. We tried to take the chart and simplify it a little by delineating wetlands buffer versus clearing and grubbing line limits. I know that there was an issue that when Dennis checked our numbers, I think there's an issue of it was a clerical error on math. one of the numbers was off by 5 square feet, we can correct that. But again, let me go to the numbers that Jill and I worked out this afternoon. Talking about the mitigation and requiring a 1.5 to 1 to satisfy chapter 64. The actual square footage that needs to be mitigated is 6,587 square feet. It's not clearly identified on that chart, so Joe said that he would correct it. With that being said, the proposed mitigation area, if you go to Steve Marino's drawing the mitigation plan. There it is. This is the new mitigation area. And again, this was based on the meeting that we had with staff 2 weeks ago. That area is 12,411 square feet, so it exceeds the 1.5 to 1.
What's going on in this area? Is that
So
just
that
gonna be-
area, we added that. Initially, our first submission, this was the mitigation area.
Right.
We added this
We
area.
added it, so what's going on? Is that just going to be lawn?
That's planted area. It's all, there's the planting schedule from Steve Miller. Planted area, and we're proposing a fence along this line. That was suggested by staff also. So we're gonna, and it's on the plan to propose a
So
split rail fence.
is that I saw somewhere about the biannual cutting of grass? Is
Yes,
that
that's it, yes, that's that area,
This
yes,
area here,
yes.
and then what's going on out here? Just,
That's wetlands area, so I don't think anything's happening beyond that.
so no planting out there, it's just gonna be.
That's all planting, yes, this is all new planting, yep. And again, that was reviewed by Dennis, I mentioned to Dennis that we reached out to Steve a little bit too late, so I asked if Steve could contact him directly and perhaps answer some of the concerns that Dennis still has about the species and so on. But this is all going to be new planting.
The deck has got a lot of piles that you need for support. Will that all be hand
It's all hand done, yes. Yep.
What is this going on here?
So that's additional area that's within the wetlands. Don't
Right.
forget, if you go back to the chart, we try to
What does that hatch mean? It seems like it's it's described as some sort of turf and
No, it's
tough track or whatever that
Yeah,
is.
that's another word for the voter block. It's called tough track. It's a grid system, right? And you either plant between it with grass or you can put gravel. There's a section through it. It is an approved system for stormwater management. So we don't have to worry about any dry wells.
So that's gonna have the so-called tough turf with
No, the tough turf is right here, the yellow.
the yellow.
This is beyond the tough turf.
So what's going on there?
That's
Just gonna be lawn?
Yeah, just lawn,
Okay,
just lawn.
and then, so this is the tough turf here, the yellow.
The yellow's the tough turf, and then
parking
this,
also,
correct. The red is the Cambridge blocks.
and that's solid,
And
right?
this-
Those are interlocked,
Yes, interlocking blocks, yep. And this L shape laying down on its side, that's the extension to the existing deck, that's the existing deck. So if you go to the new plan, you'll see the new configuration of the deck. And we included those two sheets, it was all one submission, even though it's not part of this narrative. Alright, so there's the new deck.
And is any of this existing out there right now, other than just the deck that's coming
The
down?
deck is there, and again, if you visited the site, you'll see there's trenches, it's
original
muddy back
Right,
there
right.
now, there's nothing else
The
back there.
original deck.
The original,
deck, yeah, just the original deck, yeah.
Okay.
So again, so we're asking for two things, right, we're within the wetlands, and then we're asking if we can reconfigure the clearing and grading.
Well, yeah, in an unusual manner, the two-step.
Yeah, and again, if you notice, the entire, well, most of the house is in the wetlands.
Yeah.
With the 150-foot setback now. I'm assuming when the house was built, it was 100 feet and everything was okay.
Okay, Sabrina, you got some comments?
Yeah, I think the applicant has tried to be pretty responsive to our previous comments. There's still a footnote that needs to be changed.
I
It
saw
says,
that.
you saw
Yeah,
that,
I
so
saw
a
that.
footnote to the zoning
Zoning
conformance
chart,
table.
yes.
in addition, the coverage, and you did address, you put the coverage numbers on the plan.
Yes.
But it would be helpful if you could identify in the actual plan what is 225 square feet, what is
I
the
thought
stairs.
we did that. I
You
looked at
did it only on the chart, not on the actual physical
I thought-
plan.
I thought we did that.
I would check that, make sure it's done completely. And then with on this landscaping plan, it would be helpful to include the existing clearing and grading limit line and your proposed clearing and grading limit line consistent with
On the landscaping plan, yes.
landscape plan.
I noticed
So we
that
have a
also.
better sense
Joseph, we'll reach out to Steve Marino, have him
and
do
give
that.
them those
Yes.
lines.
And again, as I said, I asked Dennis if it would be okay for Stephen to contact him directly to address some of his issues about species and planting.
And then I'm gonna answer for Jeff since he's unable to attend at the moment. But he did have a new comment to advise that a chairman's signature block has to be placed on a wetland mitigation plan.
Yes, and we put it on every sheet because the directive the first time was to put it on every sheet,
Yeah,
but now it should only be on the first sheet. And the mitigation plan.
yeah,
That's what your new directive said. First sheet only.
I have no idea. It
That's-
should be on every plan.
It should be on every page.
Yeah,
That's
it
not
should-
what it says. So if that's,
Oh.
yeah, tell me.
We're gonna advise you to put it on every page.
Okay, let me make a note. But should it be on the deck plans also? Because
Yeah.
it should be, okay. Alright, cause Joe wasn't sure whether it should be on the deck plans. So signature on every sheet.
My ink is cheap apparently.
Yeah.
That's what we've been doing.
I know, I sent a bill to the town, my ink.
And then he has his other comments that are still outstanding from previous comments, so just make sure everything is addressed, I'm not gonna go.
Yes, Joe, he mentioned split rail fence. We do have a fence. It is on the plan.
Do you have a detail for the fence?
No, I would certainly get one if you would like a detail. Sure.
You need to go through the detail for the fence.
Sure. Yeah, the fence, the rail fence, the line of delineation is on the cover sheet, map A103, he talked about that. Planning, graphic, 5 was okay, 6 was okay, 7 was okay. And then board approval, told to include on all drawings, I'll do that. I think that was it.
Sabrina, I had a question on Jeff's note,
Which
number
note?
6. I'm not quite sure I understand it, it seems to be almost like an insurance policy, reverse language. So note that the permeable paver section details were amended to meet New York State DEC requirements for impervious coverage. That tells me that it's still considered to be impervious, and Bob Cioli told us that last fall, that it was impervious.
Yeah, it is.
So we're hearing that this meets, that this is pervious, and so
It's-
I think it really is very different. We have different
Yeah,
calculations
no,
to see here.
it needs to be considered as
We
impervious.
have a memo from Bob Cioli that said that, and I know that you said to me the last time it wasn't, and we have a memo, and I sent it to you the first time, from this board or this staff, that it was acceptable, the voter block.
My
He's the one
recollection
that-
was, Bob, I asked that specific question
I-
last
I
time,
know that,
and
but
he said,
I could send you, I
okay,
could
well, we haven't seen
send
it,
you,
okay,
I
that's fine.
sent it the first submission.
It may be in the
Yeah.
first submission.
So we need to see it then, okay.
Sure.
We'll check it.
I'll send it to you again.
Yeah,
And again,
send it
Joe,
again if you
Joe
can.
did the research
Well,
on it,
nonetheless, it
the
seems that,
state uses it,
it seems that Jeff is still of the same opinion as Bob.
No, he said
I
it's-
think it is, it might be considered. It's not considered impervious, but it counts towards development coverage.
right, that's what he
I
said,
don't-
development coverage, but not
Yeah, I don't recall.
impervious.
I know we had this with the shooting club out there, because it
Yeah.
had all kinds of stuff, and we went through this years ago. And it came back and it was not counted to be pervious.
Okay,
So we've gone back and forth on this for years
so
already.
we'll need to verify it again, but I think today Jeff and I had a conversation about it. And it is about it counting towards development coverage, but it does not count towards the need to do a stormwater
Yes,
practice.
that, right, that was the
But I
discussion.
think years ago, there was, as I recall, there was a percentage that an applicant received credit.
Yeah,
So it was not 100%, but then I thought it went to 100% impervious and you lost all credit, which didn't make any sense to us, but
Yeah.
that's what,
Well, we'll check. I mean, I know Bob Cioli did a memo on it, so
Yeah.
we'll see where
but that's important because that could really
sway the numbers.
sway your numbers very significantly.
And again, he specifically told us voter block, and he said we had used it in town before. He said, so why don't you do research on that product? So that's directly
Maybe it's a
where we
specific
went.
product, I don't,
Yeah.
And it could be the specific
Yeah.
product.
Yeah, so that was the product we went to, and again, we included that detail in the cross section in
Yeah.
our.
And I'm pretty sure his recollection is correct.
Yeah.
Cause that's consistent with my conversation today, and I know that Jeff spoke with Bob Cioli about this.
Yep.
And it's because of the type of
Right,
system
because of the
you're
type,
using.
yes.
Yep.
And you
Yes.
changed your system
Yes,
to this system,
Ah.
so it would not,
right,
yes,
okay,
alright, we're good, but submit that letter anyway.
I will, okay, let me make a note of that also.
anything else from Jeff that we need to,
No, and not at this time, they have all of his write-up on
Good,
there, I think
okay.
Dennis's comments
Dennis, you
are-
had comments, right?
Alright, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, so I guess starting with number one, I'm concur that the delineation as depicted is accurate, so these flags do represent the wetland, non-wetland boundary. I think as already stated, we just need the clarification on the requirements. Again, that's assuming that you've met the requirements of avoid and minimize, which is up to the board, but as far as the mitigation and, needing to just worry about satisfying the recommended 1.5 to 1, just so that that's clear,
Yes,
that's fine.
we'll add the math,
Right.
yes.
So comments on the mitigation plan, and you were alluding to this, Bob, I think when you were reviewing it, so yeah, that stone wall, if you visit the property, it certainly represents, I'll say, two different environs. I would say to the front side of the stone wall, maybe I guess that's the eastern side, a little more level, certainly kind of flows with the yard, etc. And then beyond that wall is, where you start to, dip a bit in terms of the topography. It doesn't quite get to wetland, but certainly has been allowed to sort of either naturally regrow or maybe was never disturbed from original construction, based on its density. And that's why I guess later on we did call for, having some sort of demarcation like a fence or boulders, because it's obvious, just based on that dynamic that, it would be difficult to sustain something sort of as robust as what's proposed beyond the wall. So, a couple mows a year is certainly reasonable, and obviously I think, still has property that's accessible. But, I think without those barriers, I think it would just be, accident, whatever, become part of the property maintenance. So I think, again, I use that stone wall as a good sort of bifurcation. Now specifics to the plan, there's a few other invasive species. I just suggested that you add those just so that, we're all in recognition of what needs to be removed. I know, they don't go away with harsh language, so I understand the need for glyphosate or, some other herbicide. But I guess I was looking more from the approach of, sometimes, hitting them in the beginning, the nuking is that when those applications are most important. But, as time goes on, there's the hope that, there's less of a need for that because of, competition, what you've put in, and also that there's an ability maybe to remove stuff without the use of chemicals because it's not as dense, as dominant as creeping. So that's why I had to make those comments, especially since we're in the environmental protection overlay district that had to, creep in. And I do make mention that there is an understanding, never like to see the word eradicate on any plan, because if we could succeed that, we wouldn't have them. So that's why they really stay and do a very good job of having some level of persistence. And again, I still think you could, attack that potentially with mechanical means, assuming, that everything goes according to plan. And having said that, this dovetail comment was, I am no problem with the mix that you're gonna use as far as the seed mix, but I think because of what is here and what you're trying to replace, I think we have to mix in some plant plugs in order, to sort of get like some stimulation going here, cause just to wait for the seed, that's gonna be competing with things that are gonna wanna sort of reestablish or, creep in, and I don't see seed winning that battle. So that's why I was suggesting, some of the additional plants. And then the last bullet was again just a repeat of the permanent demarcation. So that, summation was just for wetlands and wetland buffers. I don't it wasn't as clear to me, cause we're looking at, redrawing a clearing and grading limit line to the rear, and there is a note on the plan, and I tried to, just with the supplemental photos show that there was an area that has, indicated previous removal and now is sod lawn that's also like outside of the clearing and grading limit line. So at this point, we're just redrawing lines with sort of no compensatory offer. And I just bring that to your attention. I would say that there's probably opportunity to do some mix and match here, or to move lines and then, maybe have to do some additional restoration just to sort of satisfy that intent. But right now, that's the part that I'm a little confused as to where that sits, or if that's a consideration. So that basically is the summary of my comments.
Okay, your question about the clearing grade limit line is important, I think, and I wasn't able to follow it. I see what I think was the existing clearing grading limit line, but I'm not quite sure what the proposed clearing grading limit line is, especially toward is that the west side?
Southwest side, yes.
Where the sod was placed, I don't know
Yeah,
what
I
that
mean, again,
means.
in discussion with staff, we talked about adding that as disturbed earth and just, mitigating it. We didn't talk about relocating the clearing and
Well, you mitigated
Grading
oh, I see, toward the wetland?
that's why
The buffer.
that's why we came closer to the rear of the home.
Well, actually, most of that sod area falls outside of the wetlands buffer, so I wouldn't.
It does, but again, suggested by staff,
Mhm.
it wouldn't be a bad, so we took that suggestion, reached out to Steve Marino, and then when they prepared the new mitigation plan, they extended it from the stone wall, closer to the rear of the home, and then that's where we're gonna put
So
the
what-
split rail fence.
What are you proposing for clearing and grading limit lines? I think we see it here in the back, right?
Yeah, that's it in the back,
Basically here.
yeah, I mean,
What are we doing on the sides, if anything? And then I guess there's another question, I have mechanical, legal mechanical. What do we do on the wetlands application? So we have an application for disturbance because they have all this building stuff, and then that's going to go away. So I don't think we wanna grant a permit that permanently lets them keep the stockpiles there.
no, we
So
would.
we actually issue two permits, one that's temporary for the construction, and then once that's satisfied, we.
As part of the building permit application, they'll demarcate, that's one of Jeff's comments, to demarcate the area of disturbance for construction.
Only, but
Yes.
we don't have to issue two permits, so.
No.
Right, and we noted that on the plan, that this was a temporary
Yeah, I
line.
understand.
Temporary versus permanent,
Yeah.
right.
But I don't understand what we're proposing for clearing and grading limit lines along the sides of the
I'm open to recommendation from staff, we didn't discuss that when,
well,
Joe and I
to
met.
Dennis's point, he's raised the issue here and we're not quite sure what you're proposing. Basically, it seems like, well, we'd like this construction, we're gonna put it in the wetland buffer, and we've mitigated the wetland buffer issue. But we basically are ignoring the clearing grading limit line that we had before, and
It's this line along the side.
no, yeah, I mean, it's again, that's existing, when we walked on the property, that was there. And again, when we met with staff, there was no discussion about.
It's two
moving
different
that line.
categories, I guess that's the best way to sum it up. If you didn't have, let's say you didn't have a wetlands situation here, we still would be like, okay, how are you gonna compensate for encroaching into the clearing and grading limit line to draw a new line And okay, that takes up a certain amount of area, well, what are you giving back on the property to,
I mean, again,
Compensate for that.
in previous discussion, this was never raised,
Well,
otherwise
it
we
doesn't
would
matter, this is the discussion now,
Yeah,
so
well,
this is what-
again, how-
it's the board that will make the decision.
I'm looking for direction.
Well, I guess we're asking you for some direction too, because it seems to me, Dennis's point is there ought to be some sort of offer on the part of the applicant to restore at least part of the clearing and grading limit line. I don't think the board is looking to be punitive to say, well, you've eliminated all this space, we'll measure it all up and somehow, we're gonna put a clearing grading limit line through your linen closet. We don't wanna do that. But, somewhere it seems to me, and maybe it's appropriate along the side, maybe along a property line to, restore that, put some plantings in there, separate it from the neighbor's property, give a little bit more a visual barrier or vegetative barrier. And keep it out of the mowed area. It's just a thought, I mean, again, I'm not
I think you have to,
looking to post stuff on you that is unreasonable, but it's unreasonable, it seems to me, that an applicant walks in and just says, we're blowing up the clearing grading limit lines and that's it.
Well, that's not the case.
Well, it is the case.
No, it's not.
Well,
We
I'm being overly dramatic with the wrong
Okay.
verb, but that's exactly what is happening here. You're
Because-
ignoring the clearing grading limit lines and making as if it never existed. And that's a problem. In a conservation development. And again, I personally, I can't speak for the rest of the board, but I'm not seeking to impose something that's punitive, but it seems that something should be given back, something should be offered. And my thought was that might be an appropriate side, perhaps 5 feet on that side, put in the vegetative barrier that enhances the separation to the neighbor.
Again, I'll address it with Joe.
Okay.
We would have come
No, I
prepared,
understand, I understand.
I'm not
I understand, yeah.
trying to roll anyone over, you know that.
No.
Right, I would discuss it with Joe, I'll discuss it with
Any thoughts from board members on that issue? I mean, I think Dennis raised an important issue and no, I think as a policy issue, as a precedent issue. But I don't think it's something that we need to be overly punitive with the applicant, but something reasonable seems to be
Yeah, I mean,
appropriate.
it's like a push-pull.
Exactly.
If you're gonna push it here, maybe you pull out over here, and we try to balance it.
it's a balloon squeeze.
It's a balloon squeeze, okay, yeah. I think that's reasonable and not punitive.
Yeah. And something also that might make sense for the property itself.
For the area in the back, right, there's that wall that goes across, and there's a portion that's page north, page south. It's on the landscaping page. Is the stuff that's page south, the south of the wall, is that in excess of what's required? We were talking about the
For
mitigation.
the wetland, yes.
Okay.
I think so, right?
the total square footage is. It's again, the mitigation area is a little over 12,000 square feet.
And what, Dennis, what, the 1.5 to 1, what's the amount that's truly required?
Hold on.
In terms of area, yeah, I guess whatever that number turns out to be.
6587, so 1.5 is 9,800, so we're like 2,600 square feet over.
Right, and again, as I was saying, I mean, there's definitely two different, there's a bifurcation by the wall, and it's two different levels of sort of, I'll say intensity in terms of, what would serve as mitigation, but yeah, accounting wise, yes, they're over.
Give them some credit for that.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why again, imposition of anything on a clear and graded limit line would probably be even less than 1-to-1, just something. And again, it's something that's reasonable for the property itself.
Dennis used the word,
I might not know what it means.
yeah, you forget, okay. You used an adjective there and I just wanted to check, but it sounded like to me that the mitigation on both sides of the wall is thorough.
Yeah, I would say one is probably, I think the word I'll use is more intensive than the other, but they're certainly both approaches.
Intensive is a
and
positive. Are you using intensive as a positive? Because
Um,
people could say intensive as a negative, I wanna make sure we're using it
Yeah, I meant it in terms
Fuller.
of number of plantings, plant
More
density.
robust.
more robust, okay.
Robust wine tasting, yeah, sounds good.
And that's 2,600 feet over plus or minus what you just said, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Steve, any thoughts?
No, I mean, I guess at this point, let's just see what they come back with.
Okay.
So, just for the record then, so in this case, this could be, cause I gotta document these moments when they happen. This could be a positive for the applicant, that the four-letter word of real estate wetlands is on the property, because they potentially could use that to their advantage to help compensate for the clearing and grading limit line issue. Or if a property didn't have that, then that's what they would just be able to rely on that. And that's fine, this happened about 3 or 4 times so far during my time here in Newcastle, so I gotta highlight those where the wetlands actually work potentially to someone's favor, that's all.
We call it the Ziegler rule.
That's fine.
But you wanted to put your name on it.
Yeah, you're a developer, you might as well.
But, I mean, what's more valuable, right?
Mhm.
I mean,
I think you're right, I think you're suggesting that the wetland is much more valuable, much more useful. And I think Dennis raises the point where something on the clearing and grading limit line, and I think we would work with you and not even one-to-one, just something, whatever you think.
So then do we redelineate the clearing and grading line or keep it as is and then just,
I think keeping it as is
Justify.
frankly would be punitive for you because it's all sodded out there but move that line to whatever that is, the west.
move it to the property line?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then put some planting in there. My thoughts, is there any other different thoughts?
Well, here's the thing, you know, the clearing and grading limit line extended up the sides of this property, right? And presumably they were to buffer the property from the neighboring properties. Though that buffer no longer exists in its current form, all the understories, there's a little bit of tree coverage in the front left of this picture that is already there, but the understory is gone. The rear is robust, the rear wetland is robust in planting. Would they have the option of beefing up the robustness of the front planting instead of planting along the sides?
Making the back even more robust?
No, the front. you
The
said.
front of the there's 2 areas.
Yeah.
There's
One in front of the stone wall.
one in front of the stone wall, one in the back, and the one in front of the stone wall is not as dense in planting as the one in the back.
Correct.
And so would you consider, as part of the mitigation for encroachment into the side clearing and grading limit line, increasing the intensity of the after the stone wall area before the fence? And Dennis, would that meet with the health of the wetland?
Yeah, you're looking to just do more in the buffer,
I'm asking if that is an option.
And I at first I thought you were going down the road of, if you wanna make a clean cut, everything to the east of the 150-foot wetlands buffer, certainly could use some as well. I mean, there's right, in the absence of designing this, there's a couple of alternatives, and they don't necessarily have to be, all in the same location or, homogeneous, right? I mean, when you squeeze the balloon, it comes out one end, comes out the other end, you're tightening in the middle, so you can go in any direction here. If you want to, let me just see what the limits are, if you want to expand, I don't know if those are all the top.
Has this area been cleared here?
Yes, there's a large tree there and a few other shrubs, yes.
So it has been cleared or just a few?
Yeah, there's some shrubbery there, yeah.
maybe that would, Dennis, make more sense there, would add more privacy for the deck, et cetera, and that would be the area that we would wanna see and leave the front with the sod, the lawn as it is.
Right, I mean, some of these are considerations for obviously the owner of the property.
Right, of
So,
course.
I mean, there's a few alternatives available here, that I think would satisfy that. But yeah, my first lens after looking at the mitigation plan kind of went more towards that southern property line, understanding that there's the easement to the northern property line and understanding that, you know, there is a sewer line that goes across the front lawn. So really, I mean, you are limited into, you know, how much you could do. This isn't Hammond Ridge, I get it, you know, so that's why I was kind of moving in sort of in that direction.
Right.
Because there's also, you know, in the tree code, there's the regulated landscape buffer, which is supposed to also have some level of planting, so it would check a bunch of boxes, I think that's the right way to phrase it.
Okay.
So since we're all chiming in, I'm looking at the site plan that has your neighbors. And I'm thinking that instead of putting planting behind the house, maybe the planting on the side for these two neighbors, just to give them a little bit more of a buffer. You're right,
Yeah.
these two guys,
Well, the
and I don't know if it was this applicant or another applicant when we had on Pines Bridge where we had a neighbor come in talking about they could see, oh, it was this one?
Yeah, because of the stockpiles. So
Yeah, so maybe we help, that's where the planting does, I understand what Sabrina said about in the back, to make the front of the wall just as robust as the back of the wall, but maybe the sides need to be the robustness to help out the neighbors. Maybe, yeah, take some planting and swing it around. I'm not saying more, I'm just saying adjust. And I've said my piece.
I will share all of these comments with Ms. Fornellis, and I know I saw that she was up here, so she's probably listening in. I saw her name up there.
Okay,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
Is there any way to get a temporary approval so that they could get those stockpiles out of there? Just to clean up that backyard a little bit, I mean, it just
Yeah. I don't know,
It's-
is there any way of, that the building department can do that?
I mean, we noted the access road, as long as he follows that, you know, and stays within where this proposed fence line is going, just to clean up that backyard.
I think if your board is okay with that, I can bring it to the building inspector and see what he wants to do. Well, let me ask you a question. I mean, you know, you have on this, you have to make the changes to the plan to compensate for the clearing and grading limit line. You have to do a public hearing and we have to do a resolution.
Well, if there's inclination on the board, we could schedule this for a public hearing on the assumption that we'll get all the information in.
Yeah.
And then we can have the resolution done within 2 weeks of that, assuming
Mm-hmm.
you know, the public hearing is closed. So perhaps we can do it that way. I mean, I understand the situation because this has been at least since November, right? Since
Longer than that, yeah.
so
That would be probably 4 weeks, right? 4 to 6 weeks,
well, altogether
yeah.
with the resolution.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that might be 4 to 6 weeks before they can start to
Right.
remove in that scenario.
Right, but the goal would be to get you done in July, so you're set.
And I'm assuming if they go on the site with equipment and start moving stuff, it just triggers all these things because they don't actually have the permit to do it, right?
So no, you're not gonna ask them.
I don't know of a way of doing it, a mechanism for a so-called temporary approval, temporary permit. I'm all ears if someone has a way of doing that.
I mean, similar to, you know, sometimes we get a demolition permit before we start construction. And building departments have granted that to us on many occasions, before you actually get a permit for new construction.
It's common demolition, right? You're removing debris, I mean, right?
Is there any,
Is it hazardous?
yeah, I was just saying,
Is
is
it
there
clean?
hazard?
Yeah, no, they're tree stumps, there's a pile 15 feet high, 30 feet in diameter of tree stumps. Then there's wood chips next to it, and then there's 2 piles of boulders that exist close to the house.
I think that, I think the building inspector wouldn't wanna set a precedent of
No.
having a temporary
So,
access permit.
what's the soonest we can do for a public hearing with, and then find out what
When
information?
can you get us
2 out of 3 would be covered on the tree permit.
documents? Because right now, the next meeting would be July 7th.
Was
But we do have the June 17th. I'm looking at you guys.
What do you need to, well, the question is, can you have plans done?
Because I would need to notice.
We're at June second.
Can I touch base with Joe and get to you first thing tomorrow morning?
Well, if they're gonna set a public hearing, they need to announce it tonight.
Can we do that and
Can we
then,
do it anyway?
and then we announce it, we can always defer it.
Adjourn
You
it.
could
Adjourn it?
You can.
Okay, we'll do that.
Is that realistic? I
Thank
mean,
you.
June 17th?
He's
I
gotta
will
find out.
verify tomorrow.
You have to find out, and we also need the documents sooner rather than later, so
Yeah.
reviews can be
Do the
done.
notice,
So-
and reviews
And
can be in
notice.
notice.
Is there a motion then to set a public hearing for June 17th?
Motion?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And if you can't make it, we'll adjourn it, and then
And
leave
I'll
the July.
have an answer for you first thing in the morning.
Okay.
Tree stumps and stuff, is that not something that
Yeah, I mean,
fall under landscaping?
I don't know.
just out of
I
curiosity,
thought you said tree permit.
I just said I issued a tree permit, that's where all that stuff came from. You
So
know,
that's part of the permit?
Yeah, I thought maybe they had like detachment issues, but you know,
So is that permit still open?
I don't know.
I'm sorry?
Is that permit still open? Is it an open permit?
Uh
Is removal of debris from the site?
probably not,
But it's you came in under violation.
yeah, so
We can't let you do any work other than get the proper approvals to cure the violation. That has to be cured prior to anything happening.
Okay,
We're trying.
thank you.
Yep.
Thank you all for your time, I appreciate it.
Okay, thanks. Hopefully we'll see you shortly.
Hopefully, thank you.
I think it sounds like that. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we move now to our next item. This is Casola, 14 Hollow Ridge Road. Application for a site development plan application, steep slopes permit, tree removal permit, application for stormwater and erosion and sedimentation control for construction of new residence.
No. You were sharing. I stopped.
Sorry,
Because I missed this last meeting, so the house and
Going
the
down 5
site,
feet.
everything. Where did 5 feet come from?
Just put it deeper.
So do like the board say 5, the board say 10?
I can share for you if you want.
Yeah, we asked them as much as they could, the
Yes.
architects, and I'm trying.
I have it. Hang on, let me go to it. I have to.
Now, the bathroom in the basement.
One minute, you pull it up at the water.
Yes.
Mhm.
Question was.
Of course.
I was having some issues. It was freezing when I was sharing.
Cut fill is dramatic.
You're gonna, so it's agreeing, I was opening, I had the
Hang
tools
on, let me
open.
see if
Trying to
sometimes I
install
can't do, sometimes I can't do it.
Tremendously.
I don't know.
Hang on.
So it's just an architectural aesthetic.
Yeah,
Will it change? Yes. Which one do you want?
That one is theirs.
This
The
one?
other ones are the
Joe
trees.
Tremeli's plan.
The-
And the
yeah.
landscaping, we're gonna need.
that's too bad.
This one?
This is-
Yeah, that's
this is
the
important.
first one.
This is your letter.
Your
No,
design
not my
background.
letter.
No, keep going.
Yeah, but I think they
It's
were-
not coming. I have to stop sharing and share it because it's not gonna pull it up. It's only
I
sharing
could, I was
that.
using Bluebeam Spring, I could try an
Or they
Adobe
just lowered the whole
I can do it.
Just
Just
the whole thing up.
just give me a second. It's just I have to open up your file before I share it. I'll open up all of them. Cause you want all of them shared?
One second.
Somebody got it going, I think.
Oh, wait.
There you go.
Okay, and then there's the site plan.
I will not
There it is.
do that.
You may have to stand nearby.
Yeah.
Cause I'm not sure. Good evening, thanks for your patience. Jerry Tortorella of Hockerman, Tortorella and Wexstein, and we're counsel for the applicant. Joe Tremelli from KSCJ is with me this evening. And we have Alicia Cuccio from the architect's office and Richard Loeffler, who's our landscape architect, are participating remotely. This evening, we are here for a very focused discussion on a revision that you asked us to look at. And we really tailored our presentation just to address modifying the elevation of the house and bringing it down. And we actually did bring it down 5 feet, and there are some considerable reductions in impacts associated with that. So we really want to talk about that tonight. We understand that there are more plans. We have to update all of our plans once we reach consensus with the board, and we will do all of that, but we thought it made sense for us to just address it in this instance. So as a consequence of lowering the house 5 feet, there are some construction implications for that and some modifications to the site plan that I just want to review with you. One is in this area here, we ended up adding a yard drain. So we basically, when you lower the house, the elevation to the south will be much higher than our original design that we discussed with you last time in April. And so we're gonna have more of a pitch of water towards the house, so the yard drain was installed here to take some of the water away from the direction of the house. So you did not see this last time, but we would be extending the clearing and grading limit line to accommodate this yard drain in this location. We also have added a stairwell on the north side of the house from the basement. And we have a sewer ejector pump that's now gonna be necessary for the septic to deal with any bathroom in the basement level. Otherwise, everything else is gravity based. We were able to remove a retaining wall, the second retaining wall on the north side of the driveway, but to do that, we had to extend some of the grading in this location. So that is some additional disturbance that you hadn't seen before. That's why the numbers were adjusted a little bit on some of the disturbance aspects of it. And we extended this yard on the south a little bit just to give some relief before you start climbing up to this elevation on the southern side. So because it would become more dramatic once you lower the house, the change in elevation was more significant. We also have, and I just want to point out to you, we have the septic area, the expansion area back in this area. I know that Jeff had a comment about whether or not the clearing and grading limit line should be extended to encompass this. We'll talk about this, I'm sure, but I do want to let you know that we did get reapproval of the septic from the health department, and we have the fill waiver. So we will not be doing any construction of this expansion area or any preparation of the site in connection with this project. We'll be able to avoid that in this instance.
I think Jeff's thought on that was also for you to consider, and that is, in case there's a failure in the future, you wouldn't have to come back because the clearing and grading limit line would be there and the expansion area would be available if necessary.
Yeah, and we're happy to do that, when we come in here kind of to the balloon analogy, we're extending in some areas, so we're trying to be very
Appreciate it.
conservative and thoughtful about where we're expanding. And I don't know if the board's done this in the past or not, or if you've ever considered kind of 2 levels of clearing and grading limit line. If it's for clearing and grading for this specific purpose, we can extend it only for that purpose in this area. I don't know if that's something that the board might wanna think about. If we do it, again, we didn't wanna come in and appear to be over asking unnecessarily. And that's one of the reasons why. And we're happy to hear the board's feedback on that. Any applicant I've ever represented would love the opportunity to avoid coming back to boards in the future for these kinds of reasons. So some of the effects of positive effects of the modifications we've done is that we've really been able to eliminate a lot of the retaining walls or cut them back. So on the north side of the house, you might remember the retaining walls actually extended further to the west, around the back of the pool and the north side of the house. We've been able to cut those back. And we've been able to reduce the height of the retaining walls in this area, so we think that that's a positive effect. The tiered walls, there were tiered walls, you might remember, near the parking court here, and we've been able to eliminate that. And then the second tiered wall, there was a second tiered wall on the north side of the driveway, and I had alluded to that earlier with this grading that we've done, we're actually gonna be able to eliminate the second tiered wall and keep the first wall at about 4 feet on average. Earthwork, substantial reduction in earthwork, by, almost 2,900 cubic yards. So it's a net fill of 226 cubic yards with this design. And we have reduced total disturbance by almost 1,700 square feet. So, and that, that is actually less than what we calculated the approved disturbance was under the Ferravecchio subdivision for this lot. Driveway grade will reduce from 13 to 11%, so that's a positive. We have a fewer trees being removed, on a net basis. They've been adjusted somewhat. And we have a little bit of reduction in wetland buffer disturbance and development coverage. The steep slopes disturbance didn't change, but that's because we weren't really disturbing that much in the steep slopes area, and building coverage remained the same, the footprint of the house did
And the
not
wetland addition is just in this area, right?
Correct, the grading, the additional grading?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that area. So, Joe, how do I jump to the landscape plan if I can?
Carefully, without.
So the landscape plan has been modified largely to deal with the question of mitigation of the wetland and wetland buffer disturbance for the driveway. So in essence, Richard had added considerable plantings in this area. Again, let me just point out, this is the buffered line. And just to remind you, the wetland is kind of a disconnected system that's across the street, physically disconnected system from across the street. So the theory of or underlying principles of the landscaping plan were really to incorporate native species in this design that will fit in well with the deciduous wooded environment. And hopefully, appear like they've been there for a long term and not look so manicured in effect, and hopefully contribute to kind of the habitat benefits for pollinators and other fauna. So that is the mitigation that we're proposing for the wetland and wetland buffer disturbance that is being proposed. And again, just to remind you, this was not a wetland buffer when Ferravecchio subdivision was originally approved. It's because of the enactment of the environmental overlay district and the 150-foot setback. The mitigation is about 1.5 times the permanent disturbance. So hopefully you'll find that mitigates sufficiently for the potential impacts of what we're proposing in this area. We did update the tree removal plan and the tree survey. I think we need to do a little bit more work to just make some of the numbering of the trees coincide better. We'll work with Dennis on that. But I think some of the modifications we made, we think it's accurate, but we think that there is just some information that we need to clean up a little bit on that. I did wanna just ask the board and Sabrina, just in terms of the clearing and grading limit line, because this has come up before about defining the clearing and grading limit line. We do have it on the landscape plan, we don't have the original, we just have the
I
proposed.
think it's important to include the original.
Okay, so do you have to, do you extend the clearing and grading limit line to include landscaped areas? Like, so in other words,
Newly landscaped areas.
yeah, so we're adding, alright, so we hadn't done that, we hadn't presented it that way. And so, we're adding landscaping up in this area and around here, we've got all this landscaping around here.
Well, and the clearing and grading limit line is intended that anything that is beyond the clearing and grading limit line will not be disturbed in the future. So if you're planting those plants, they're not within your clearing and grading limit line, are you ever going to touch them again?
Some of them, Jerry, are within the original clearing and grading limit line.
Right, some of them are within the original clearing and grading limit line. I mean, look, if they
Right,
die and you
well,
wanna cut them
we just-
down,
Basically, it's just to understand where you're planting, what you're planting, that is not supposed to be disturbed as opposed to what is manicured lawn and trees.
So I think we need to just make sure that we're covering it accurately and defining the clearing and grading limit line
Okay.
and, that achieves that. And again, not so that we can get an angle and be able to disturb it for other purposes in the future. We wanna accurately represent it, but again, we don't want it to appear like we're looking to preserve.
So in those areas, are you just proposing to plant trees or
Yes.
bushes and shrubs?
Yes,
That's neither clearing nor grading, so
well, you have to prepare it.
you dig a hole.
You cut out some brush, you clear out
Okay,
this there.
okay, well then you're clearing.
You're
Okay.
doing a little clearing.
Okay.
Look, I would prefer to err on the side
Sure.
of again, being transparent and honest about it, but I don't want the board to think that, and I want it clear on the record that it's not construction that we're proposing in those areas or looking to, put any permanent impervious surfaces in those areas in terms of material. So we'll need to take a look at that, and you want both clearing and grading limits.
I'd like the board to see what they originally approved as part of the conservation subdivision and then what you're proposing as part of the site plan.
Jeff did raise a question about removal of certain unsuitable fill, which we're not anticipating having here, because it's not a site that we have constructed in the past, although there is a lot of debris on the property that will have to be taken away. But he also had just noted number of truck trips and suggested that maybe we should be thinking about a schedule. It's not really that many trucks that are
It's 12, isn't it?
right, so I didn't know if the board, one could give us some guidance as to what you would be looking for. I mean, it's not all gonna happen at the same time. We think the road is, sufficiently sized and in good enough shape to, to bear that number of trucks.
Could that comment have been on the prior amount of trucks you had? Because you did have a lot last
There's
time, right?
160 before that.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it may
he
have
actually
been a
made
previous comment.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't look that way to me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it didn't look that way to me. And again, we want the next submission to be complete and comprehensive, and so just looking for some guidance on
I think
that.
there's two things here. You've lowered your total amount of net import. He's raising that some of your cut likely will be unsuitable, which you will have to remove. And in the event you're removing that, then you're gonna have to bring a truck back with suitable fill. So I don't know if your civil engineer has any view on spoilage.
Based on the soil testing we did for both the stormwater systems and with the health department, and for our own edification, we punched holes throughout the site. The soils we found were all suitable. They were sandy soils to a significant depth, so I don't really anticipate anything. We didn't find pockets of clay, we didn't find organics. So I believe everything we excavate and cut will be able to be used on site as fill somewhere for the project.
Yeah, those comments were part of the old drawings, not.
But even if
That's
there
right.
is some unsuitables, we're not talking about truckloads here
No.
of unsuitables that would be
No.
created.
I think it had to do with his previous review.
Yeah.
Alright, and I think, if it's going to be unsuitable, it may be some of that debris that someone other than our client has been depositing on the site.
Donating to.
Yes, exactly. So that was pretty much what we wanted to clarify for the board. We're happy to answer any questions you have. If this makes sense to the board, then we'll advance, the drawings and we'll give you a complete and comprehensive set and address all the comments. I mean, again, Jeff pointed out a number of notes that needed to be added, all of those kinds of things I think are easy
Yeah,
enough to take care of.
stormwater issues that we haven't done yet.
We've addressed all that already, we just need to make a formal submission with a comprehensive plan.
So, Sabrina, you wanna run through your
I think
comments?
Jerry addressed my sole comment. Again, I think that they're really looking to the board to either bless or not bless the layout. And then they'll submit a complete application with all the plans and the documentation that we need to move the public hearing.
Dennis, did you have anything you wanna add? Anything from your comments that we haven't covered?
No, the one thing I did wanna say, so again, it's the math with the wetland mitigation, that component, but like you guys were saying, I mean, I don't disagree with the late great Bruce Lee that we should be like water, but in this case, I know that it's not hydrologically linked or disconnected is another word that you like to use, but there are other considerations, and I do think the native planting and consideration for wildlife, especially, you know, when you consider that you obviously have to keep a segment of the front of the property as turf cover for, you know, line of sight, and then it transitions to pavement. So I think it's nice to have that softness, you know, between that harsher environment and then kind of transitions to where the wetland is. And I think I could tell just from what you were saying and tone of your voice, you understood my numeric confusion a little bit from the plan, but to the point of boots on the ground, it kind of made sense, the symbols and the measurements, and with the exception of that one maple exception that I found. So I think it's just make the table work relative to, you know, what's shown on the symbols on the plan, and I think that'll come together. And that may change the ultimate, you know, tree replacement plan calculations. I couldn't accept that because of that confusion, but on the resubmission, I think that'll be fine, because your calculations were on the money for what was presented. Right, those are my comments.
Great. So, seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Any questions,
I
objections,
got
thoughts?
a question.
Sure.
Only have, can we go back to the other drawing, if possible? And this is probably education more on my part than anything else. So this is stormwater, right? And I'm assuming you're taking all the stormwater, you're bringing it down through the woods, and then you're depositing there to percolate into the ground.
Correct.
Right. Question, how come the stormwater is taken all the way down through these woods and you just don't do it right here?
Good question. So the area that you see that's shaded in the beige or tan,
Here?
those are areas of slopes that are in excess of 15%.
Gotcha.
And the
Okay.
state design manual does not let us install infiltration systems in slopes of that steepness.
But if you came over here, you would not be there, right?
Right, but we also have setbacks that we need to maintain to the septic system.
Okay. I just saw you cutting through all these woods to get to that, and I'm wondering, when you trench all that, are you gonna kill all the trees around the
We
trench?
tried to pick a lane that was as least disruptive as possible to get down the hill to that system. And we minimized the amount of water we're sending there. That system in the back collects the patio and I believe a portion of the garage. The house, the drive, all goes to the system and
All goes to that one, right?
so we tried to split it, but that's exactly why it has to be where it is.
Fair enough, thank you.
Okay, any questions, thoughts?
No, appreciate you doing the exercise.
Jerry,
Same.
anyone put together?
Yep, thank you very much. I think it makes good sense, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time. You're gonna ask?
Yeah,
Why don't you ask?
maybe you'll offer. My ask is could, you know, tentatively schedule a public hearing for the July meeting and we'll make the submission, you know, by the submission deadline?
Sure. What's that submission deadline for July, is it 7th?
June 15.
Okay, is there a motion then to schedule a public hearing for
Motion?
July, what was it again, 7th?
For July 7th.
July 7th? Second, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Look at you.
very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Very nice.
Number 2.
Okay, our next item is the resolution for Stroger and Dunn, 790 and 780 King Street. This was an application for a preliminary subdivision plat approval. We heard it last time, I think we went through any questions or issues, and we decided that did we have a public hearing on it? We went to public first.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
closed it and we just had the resolution. So any questions, changes, or thoughts on the resolution?
Line 34, the fifth word is a typo.
Or says
Mhm.
there's an extra
Where?
B.
This should,
No, that's newspeak.
Alright.
That's old English. And we got the 150-foot buffer correction in there?
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else, anything? If not, as amended, is there a motion to adopt the resolution?
motion?
Second?
Who motioned that?
It was a tie.
I'm gonna say
Yeah, they both
Stuart
motioned at
and
the same
then
time.
Rock, paper, scissors?
Jeff, second.
Jeff.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, our next item is the request for extension of time. This is a Random Farms, the Homeowners Association, 21 Random Farms Drive, an application for a site development plan application, wetland permit, tree permit, stormwater erosion control approvals for replacement of their wastewater treatment plant. I guess it should have been asked for about a year ago, but better late than never. I had one question that was on the request, it referred to redesign, I take it is there a structural redesign or any kind of layout
Sounds like the
redesign?
costs,
Well, the
it
cost,
sounds like the
yeah,
costs have gotten so outlandish that they have to go back and revisit the design.
maybe re-engineer it
Yeah.
for cost. So there's nothing material then in terms of construction's change at all, Dennis, as far as you know?
No, I went to the kickoff meeting last week, actually.
Is it kickoff for the wastewater?
For
Wow.
construction of the wastewater treatment plant.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, but it's been a real problem for a long time. Okay, any issues, questions? If not, is there a motion to grant the extension requested by the applicant?
Motion,
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, our next item is the referral from the town board regarding the MFR-C legislation. So we Sabrina and staff put together a memo based on our last conversation. Find my stuff here.
find it,
I can share it.
oh, I got it.
Yeah, we have it, and also, I haven't had a chance to read through it all, but I see that Greg and Jeff have offered some thoughts as well.
Well, last
This is
year's.
last
Oh,
year.
these are last year's?
Yeah,
I received no comments on this memo.
Oh, okay.
oh, because I got all my comments here, I
Yeah.
thought we were gonna discuss it
We are,
today.
we're gonna discuss it, yeah, I mean, that's, I think that's the key. So, any changes, anything that you wanna mention, Sabrina?
No, I was asked to summarize your comments. This is my attempt at summarizing them. I full well feel that you will change it.
No.
But the intention today is to come up with a letter to send to the town board after tonight's meeting.
Okay, good. Anyone wanna go first to talk? I feel like I talk too much. But I'm willing to talk. So I one comment I thought that I made last time that wasn't really captured in the memo was not necessarily the genesis, but the process. And it seems to me that this is a little bit inverted. And it was, I guess, concluded that seeker doesn't apply because, I don't know why, but because their impacts would not be very substantial. And it seems to me that we go through a process to make that determination for seeker to see that there were in fact no impacts, no problems, no issues. So it seems to me it's a presupposition that there are none, so therefore we don't have to do seeker and therefore we go forward. And by doing that, as I mentioned last time, I think we short circuit the process and we also short circuit the information, because I think we talked last time, we asked about, a year ago we asked about information. It didn't follow through on it, but last time I think we made some observations that there was some information that we would really wanna see and hear and learn and know about that would help us inform our thoughts as well as recommendations to the town board. So, I mean, I'll start off and just say, you know, the goals and purposes and the intent of the legislation pretty clearly set forth, although it's presumptuous language in my opinion, because it starts off by saying we're to provide suitable opportunities for development of housing designed to satisfy the needs of smaller households, particularly young and elderly, et cetera, low, moderate income. And yet, to make that statement, do we have any information that suggests that the rents in these new construction, these new buildings will be the same or lower than the current housing units that exist on King Street?
Are you reading from the existing legislation?
Yeah, the proposal.
Right, so that legislation is already on the books. just so you're
Okay.
aware, the
Yeah.
changes that the town board is making are the red lines in that document.
Yeah.
But everything else except for those red lines are in the code today.
Yeah, so the three changes are the 1 acre to quarter acre, right?
Yep.
The 50 feet to 10 feet,
Mm-hmm.
and getting rid of the NA because apparently that was maybe a clerical mistake. We never should have had an NA, it should always be 2035. Are those the
Not
three?
requiring a maximum,
Yeah, that was the NA.
Threshold.
So those are the three, right? Those are the three. And then maybe incentive for green.
and the incentive for green, and they were talking about, yes, those are the
Right,
changes.
those are the, so everything else is the code, and these are the four things that they're looking to modify the existing code.
Correct.
But it seems.
And then, oh, sorry,
Go ahead.
and then what we started to talk about last year was more inspirational.
Correct,
And this has been reined in for whatever reason we don't know.
correct.
I thought last year's, though inspirational, gave the opportunity to start doing real stuff. I think these things start to muddy it up even more.
Yeah, you had made that comment and I, it's not not
So
meant-
that's where I'm confused.
Yeah, well, and I'd love to hear more about you because about your thoughts on that because Sabrina tried to capture it in here again and again I was as confused this time reading it, I wasn't quite sure what you meant. But I'd love to hear what you have to what you mean by that because I think you also said it kind of pulled it back from where we were last year and gave less flexibility and
Well, I mean, you know, when we were talking I thought and again, if we keep harping back to last year, and I apologize,
It's okay, listen,
I-
here's the thing, my goal tonight
right?
is for you guys to have a comment letter back to the town board by the time you adjourn this meeting tonight. You guys all need to resolve on a letter or common threads that can be incorporated into a letter for the chairman's signature to meet the referral requirements of the local law. That's kind of my goal for you. You can talk about however you need to talk about the past with the present and getting from where you wanna comment on this law.
So I thought last year, and that's why when I reread our memos, I thought it was just going to circulate. And I even said in my memo was going way out there because I was really trying to be inspirational in what we can maybe do in the downtown. And I liked the direction last year because the comp plan that I think we did in 2018, 2019, 2017, and the major goals of the comp plan were housing, and diversification of housing, and try to get more people living in the town, and try to focus on the two hamlets because that's where the infrastructure was. And since Millwood didn't have any sewers yet, let's put our eggs in the Chappaqua Hamlet basket and focus on the zoning and fixing up this, and if sewers come in Millwood down the road, we'll deal with Millwood then, right? And last year I thought was, oh great, we're finally getting to it. We had good conversations, it went on the back burner, now it's coming here, it just, I think it's just a less than a drop in the bucket. Almost to the point where like the setbacks, the 50 to 10, I think that starts to make it even more confusing for people and we get less of good product because the 50 on part of the hill, 50 is good. On part of the hill, 50 is bad. And I noticed from the sketch you gave us last year, and I think that was a proposed draft, it showed we had zoning up top, zoning on the bottom, but the middle was gonna be different. And I read this as the middle's the same as everybody else, and I don't think that's smart planning for that part of town. I do think that the hill has a completely different character than the top of the hill and the bottom of the hill. I think the top of the hill and bottom of the hill could maybe be a 10-foot setback, but the middle of the hill, that would scare me, right? So, and I feel that I feel that the board took a couple of things that maybe they thought, oh, we can do setbacks and we can make 1 acre to quarter acre, and maybe they just tried to cherry pick a few things to move it along, but I don't think those are looking big picture on what the objective of the comp plan was, to try to get more diverse housing into the town. And if we try to stick on that plan, then the way you do that is the current property owners, what can we do to make it so they can, what can we do to incentivize them so they can take a risk and maybe try to build 2 or 3 apartments downtown and try to get some housing stock going. But right now our zoning, I don't believe offers them any type of opportunity to do that. Or if maybe they could do 1 unit. And I think if we all start penciling out construction costs and rent and taxes in the downtown, 1 unit ain't gonna fly. You need some scale. And it's not hundreds of units. I honestly don't think there's gonna be a developer that's gonna come and buy 10 acres of land on Greeley and put up 1,000 units. I just see that as impossible.
North Greeley, not South
North Greeley, I'm sorry. I see that as impossible. I do see a developer coming and maybe buying 2 or 3 lots and putting together 3/4 of an acre or a half of acre, and maybe on a half acre trying to get 10 or on King, yeah, maybe on a half acre trying to do something that's a little exciting. Or even an eighth of an acre you could do something, but right now with the, at, 2,000 feet, 3,000 feet and 5,000 feet, these little itsy bitsy parcels, you're really, really limited. Unless
I
a
think,
developer comes and starts consolidating.
I think Sabrina actually recognized it in the memos, talking about the 3 distinctive areas. And maybe we wanna make that very clear that, the top and the bottom should be treated differently.
Similar.
But the so-called quasi-residential with retail permitted, the hill is really a different zone. And
I
that's
think
the one that I think we should be concentrating on. It seems to me that the others, and I think that's what the legislation is really concentrating on. The reason I was talking about the so-called goal of the law, which hasn't changed, is I think we should have the information to know what this does. So if one of our goals is to offer and not nullify some of the like middle rental housing that we have, I suspect that the new structures will have a different rental configuration. And we have that information, we can start to check and see once 50 North Greeley is built, we can check and see what 91 is and see how that compares with the housing that is on the hill now, and understand, are we going to be undercutting what we're trying to do, which is give a diversity of housing and rentals, and start to actually make it even less affordable than it is now. And that's I think one of the issues that I have, and I've been talking about this for a while, is it seems to me that there's a lot of potential with much of the existing building stock, with a modification in our ADU regulations to add a number of units to the existing stock without the transformational change that 100% coverage or a 10-foot setback would have.
It's not 100% coverage, it's no maximum coverage. So there's a misunderstanding
Okay,
right now. They're calling it allowing 100% coverage. Not stating a maximum allowable coverage doesn't mean 100% coverage.
Well,
It means
what would limit that? Is it the
what
source?
limits the coverage is the site. It's the site, it's the stormwater
The things that we always
requirements.
talk about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The landscaping areas that you require. So there is a misunderstanding that by removing a maximum threshold, that means 100%. It does not.
But also, doesn't the law also lean toward having this application come as a matter of right with very little review?
Absolutely not. It's
No?
your permit. The
Our permit, but
MFR's
subject to the same sort
subject
of
to the
standard?
code that you have in front of you.
Okay.
And you have a lot of authority in the incentives to grant the percentages of, I think, 6 through 11, so half the percentages, and you have site plan approval. You approve the basic permitted density, the number of units that they're proposing. This permit solely rests within your purview of site plan approval. So if you don't like the 10-foot setback, and they can meet the 10-foot setback and you wanna push it another 5 feet back, you have the ability to do that. It's not, you have the ability to work with the applicant to justify why they should do that.
that's, okay,
Okay, because if it's 10 feet, they're gonna say the code says I can go 10 feet.
right, that's what
And
they're gonna push.
max out square footage because
Right, but
they're
there's
looking for
also codes within our code that says on the street wall, you have to be similar to your neighbors. Right? So in the middle of King Street, if you get an application and they wanna move it up 10 feet, there's codes on our book right now that if their neighbors are back 30 feet, then that should be consistent with the surroundings.
So my preference would be that you start with that basis and say the law should be, if you come in with an application, you start off with the current coverage, you start off with the current setback, then you apply to the planning board if you wanna do something different. And
So
you
that's
justify
not the way this law is
I know
written.
that, and that's my problem.
I
'Cause I
know,
think it should be the other way around.
I hear ya.
Because if it comes to us that way, we are necessarily on the defensive. And we all know what that means in terms of lawyers getting hold of it.
I know.
And folks like Jeff driving through it with his truck, with his own.
his big truck.
His big truck going through. And it just, if you do something like that, with again, the same sort of policy concerns that you're trying to take care of, but at the same time, not being as potentially transformational with, and being on the defensive, sitting there saying, I want 10 feet, the code gives me 10 feet, and we're trying to argue, well, you know, your neighbor is at 25 feet,
Yeah,
and they're saying it's reasonable, then I'll be at 12 feet. It's like, no, come on.
There's a certain developer in town, I could definitely see if they came in with 10 feet and we said, no, we want you to push it back to 30, they would blow their cork
Of course.
and go
Oh,
crazy.
absolutely.
Any developer would,
And
because
because
it's money.
that 20 feet is all their square
Yes.
footage, right?
Correct.
So, and I guess that, you know, and I know you say that we're discretionary, but still, does it let the applicant fight us saying that, no, you know, you guys are too discretionary, does it open us up for a lawsuit?
Yeah,
If-
but
being
here's the thing,
arbitrary.
I
Not
don't
being
think,
arbitrary,
I don't think, listen, I
Article 78 city.
understand, you have never had a flexible front yard setback. What you have been flexible with is site planning.
Mm-hmm.
The location of the building, the amount of green space, where the dumpster is located, protection of the neighbors, how does it blend in with the neighborhood? You can't regulate a front yard setback. That is if they don't meet 10 feet, or if they don't meet the 30 feet, they're going to the zoning board for a 10-foot variant, or for 20-foot variance. Do you know what I'm saying? So but your board issues this permit, and the legislation gives you authority over the unit count that can occur. It gives you authority over the percentage increase for 5 of them.
Mhm.
And you also, as part of your planning, determine landscaping. You determine driveway access, you determine garbage removal. Those are all of the site planning elements that you have directed for other downtown projects.
But we haven't seen very many on King Street
Correct.
because they've all failed because of stormwater.
Correct.
And so we really don't have that experience. That's all been downtown, and that's been fairly easy and clear because it's a business district.
Yes.
This is more of a mixed
It
district.
is, but you also have stormwater with these.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I mean.
So I mean, that to me is, as I mentioned last time, I think is really the big challenge, and there's more challenges. I mean, even if we
Sure,
use our
there's a nice
standard
count.
code for 35 feet average, to me, the site that is going to be presented to downslope neighbors north of King Street, I mean, looking at, we use this, average 35 feet, right?
I wouldn't say it's an average, it's from the midpoint of the roof to down to the
Great.
surface.
Yeah, but where?
Is it the
I
grade or
don't
is it
know
the
offhand.
average?
Because it's always been an average all the way around, so
I don't
in
think
any
it's
event,
I don't know
looking
if
up
it's an
from from the neighbors on King Street, they're gonna be looking
Exactly,
at
well,
this
and that's
vast thing.
view shed, and you've always asked for a view shed analysis.
Exactly, shade, view shed, sun, the whole
Exactly.
routine.
Yeah.
So I mean, these are the things that we really.
Absolutely, and those are things that you do today.
Yeah.
And there's no regulation that says view shed, that talks about a view shed in our code.
I know that, but don't tell people.
But you asked for it, right? You know, the
Yes,
site plans,
yes.
I mean, these are just regular, so capricious? No. Arbitrary and capricious? No. This is what your board does.
So are you saying that you think it's, I mean, for example, what apparently there's some sort of application before the zoning board, or they may consider it. And I talked to the building inspector this morning about it, and to me, that is an attempt by an applicant to bypass the legislative process and it puts the zoning board in a terrible position of having to rule and basically ignore what we currently have as our code in the MFRC area without going through the legislative process.
I can't process the application.
Good.
I cannot process an application under this code today. I've had 3 different applications come in trying to apply for the MFRC. I've rejected all 3 of them because the conflicts in the code. The front yard setback isn't a conflict, okay? That's not. What is a conflict is the building coverage. And there was one other, and,
Acreage,
sorry?
and the acreage.
And that's just a no.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
That's not a conflict.
Okay.
Okay, there is also an alternative way that a good attorney can get in with a smaller acred property. And I don't know, you know, that's a question for legal. Can they apply through this section of the code? This is the reality of what I'm dealing with, and I haven't been able to process those 3 applications because there's a conflict in coverage in the code. And I would question the backdoor approach to size.
Is it possible to, since you've said no on these applications, is it possible for the boards and the public to see them or to know what they are?
Oh, no, I don't have formal applications.
Oh, all right.
Just the
Conversations.
Preliminary.
Yeah, these are preliminary
Yeah, right.
conversations.
One thing I wanted to say to all of you, it's the
I
last
think you just have
time,
to state your name.
Yes.
James McCauley, 24 Highland Avenue, Chapel Bluff. I live on King Street. I live on the west side of King Street in the King Street Hill condominiums. I said last time I built them, was built 40 years ago, under the MFRC. We're 1.1 acre, so we qualified, it was in the early stages of it. There's a incline in our property from north to south. The next property is the Perez property. I'm a little confused, I thought it was 0.9, but I saw another map, a town map that said it's 0.75. So it's below us. But we're 6 to 8 feet above King Street. All right, so depending, now ours are back, because I measured it myself this week with a what do you call it, a ruler.
Tape measure.
It's 70, the front of our building is 70 feet back from the road. The next property, the Cavalacci property.
Is there parking between the road and your
Yes,
building? Okay.
yes.
And it's 60 feet of
No,
parking?
no, that's only about 30 feet.
Okay.
The
What-
building itself,
What was your front street though?
huh?
Your front yard.
What's
Your
your front on?
yard
Your
is
front-
Highland Avenue,
No,
isn't it?
no,
Okay.
that's our backyard. We come in on Highland because there was no entrance allowed it's a state road, so they didn't allow us to cut in an entrance on King. The entrance is on Highland. My unit is one of the 2-bedroom units. It faces King. The driveway is in front of me. And then there's a drop off of 6 to 8 feet to King Street. So what I'm trying to get to is that when we're talking about the setbacks and the height of the buildings, there's 2 different King Streets, even on King Street. The other side that the 211 application is on, those are at street level, they're at sidewalk level. So the setback is, the some of the buildings are back, the buildings themselves are back further. That 211 is only back about 15 feet now, I think, the existing building. So if on one side, so I'm looking at it as a resident, and I think we do need more housing, no question. I also know that a unit in my complex is renting for over $4,000 a month, so they're not gonna, if anyone builds other than low-income housing, today's building costs, today's property costs, it's gonna be, the rents are gonna be not cheap, they're not gonna be low. So I'm thinking that as I've read, and I haven't seen any depictions of it yet, but I'd love to see that across King Street, if it's, 5 or 6 properties of townhouses all along in one, it's gonna look like the what do you call it, the Chappaqua Crossing Street. When you look down that street and all you see is condos on either side. So I think I understand the need for housing, and I understand the desires of a builder. I've done it myself. Put my own money at risk, my own time and effort over time, and I've done it in other places also. But here there seems, rather than the entire code changing, is there a different way to incentivize the developer to take some risks and put 3 or 4 units, put more units in than would be allowed under the MFRC, but not to do away with the MFRC, because that 100% lot coverage, and that's what was in that application, is rather scary from an owner, from somebody who's lived there and so on either side of the street. And it may not be feasible on our side. Now, the similar things happen south of Prospect, that at least on the first couple of properties there, the houses are significantly above King Street, although they come in differently. As you get down then towards that the complex where there's the cleaners and so on, those are pretty much at level with King Street. But I'm wondering if the objective of the town and the objective to the developer can't be met with somewhere in between, without throwing out the whole code. Because the code wasn't written for this type of thing. It was written for Old Farm Lake. It was written for Chappaqua Commons. It was, it wasn't designed for this by any means. So maybe there's another way to get to the same result without the scale. And the other part is over the past decade or so, each time a major change has been offered or suggested, the board has come out and sent out questionnaires, it's sent out, there's been a lot of information. There were seminars, there were questions, Pace University was hired. This is happening, it seems, off the impact of one application for a 3.33 acre lot, which I have to agree with Chairman Kirkwood that it seems kind of backwards. It seems like the mouse is getting the elephants to run. But there should be I think there in this line here and that line here, I know there's a lot of but maybe there's a middle way that, and yet these 100% type coverage and who live there, it isn't just those of us who live on King, it's there's hundreds of other houses. It's just, not so good, and the results I think can be achieved because we all seem to want the same thing, but just maybe not as much of the same thing as a change in the total code would allow, and would put the town and everybody else on, in jeopardy in ways that aren't necessary.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Serena, when you have the coverage issue, what is the coverage issue that is the thing that thwarts your making a determination or processing or going forward?
In the text, it talks about maximum thresholds for building and development coverage. In the table, it says NA.
Okay. I just wonder if we went about it differently, again, I've talked about this for a while, but if we got a real good, accurate inventory of the units that are in the King Street Hill, including those areas that are currently occupied for retail, commercial, which could be converted to housing. Get ourselves a full inventory of what we have, and then with a modest change of the ADU regulations in that zone where they could add another apartment or two, probably just one. And then we don't have to do anything with parking, maybe even shrink the parking because it's designed for some commercial on the ground floor. See what that gets us to in terms of the increase in number of units. But in any event, use that as the baseline now for a developer to come in. And you're looking at this building right now, it has only 2 units right now, but there's commercial, there's incentive, we could get you to 5 or whatever it might be. And start there and say, we can get you to that level. And it's it's not going to be a dramatic transformational change where you have to go to extremes for coverage or go to extremes for setbacks, et cetera. But it's a base that we can start with information in terms of what are we trying to get to? What's the number? What's the delta that we're trying to get to? My sense is that the delta, based on the proposal, between what we could get to reasonably under the proposed changes and what we could get by changing the ADU and retaining more of the modest rental income, rental units is not that significant. We could get there with a whole lot less impact to what we like about the King Street area, which is the greenery, the trees, the setbacks. It's irregular setbacks. Every single building is set back at some different level, which I think adds to the the charm and scale and nature of the place. But maybe use that as the basis so we understand what we're getting to, what we can get to. And again, I would suggest that a better way to do it is to be more subject to the, I think Sabrina raises a really good point in terms of, okay, you set that in the law, then they just go to the zoning board for relief. So, that, how do we take care of that and how do we avoid that? That's an issue. Yeah, but if we have it in code and again, the zoning board they're good, smart people. They they react well and they know what they're doing, and so they're dealing with minor changes. It's not a wholesale change where you're coming in and doesn't matter what the code says. I want 5 stories here. No, you're not.
Oh, they won't do that.
Of course not. And again, that's an extreme example, but it just seems to me that that could be a better route and also more information to know where we are. I think we're dealing a little bit in the dark.
In your referral, right? Let's break it down a little bit so we can I summarized the discussions you had. We talked about the 3 distinct areas in the BR or on King Street.
Is King Street the only place this occurs?
It's in the BR zoning district on King Street.
And that's it, there's no other place?
There may be some BR on North Greeley.
Okay, but would this apply on the
North-
BR North Greeley, or is it this only King?
It applies to the BR zoning district in
Wherever
the
BR
hamlet of
is?
Chappaqua, yes.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, so the conversation has been all about the King Street Hill. So I break down.
Should we make that recommendation that we should just talk about King Street and the BR for North Greeley downtown?
This
should be a
code
different issue?
exists today for the BR zoning district in Chappaqua.
I understand, but should we do something different and just say we're talking about King Street with what we're talking about here and leave whatever you have for the BR on North Greeley unchanged?
That's up to you.
I think it's a totally different feel and totally different zone. I think
So do you wanna note in here that the planning board reviewed the motion in light of the fact that there are 3 uses in the BR zoning district on King Street Hill, right? And then each zone has its characteristics, and then it's in Mid-Hill to the and there's a whole new feel for, and there's a completely different feel on North Greeley.
and that's a different, could be treated as a different zone. Or treated as is, right now under the
A
BR.
completely different area.
So Sabrina, I'm
Mhm.
looking at this. Can you see this?
Sure she knows it. Gotta commit it to memory, right?
So my question for you, Sabrina, is this area right here what we're calling the King Street Hill?
No,
Okay,
let me see.
I think it is.
I think it is.
Let me
And
see.
if the King Street Hill is not
I
in
don't
the
even
BR
know what map
district.
that is.
Is this what we're even affectionately calling the hill?
No, this is the hill. This is residential zone here. This is the BR zone here, all in here.
Okay,
And
so
then there's an
this is
area
what we're
up here.
referring to as the hill.
Yep.
Okay, and this is flat, this is the hill, and this is resi, this is a whole different zoning district.
That's a whole different zoning
Okay,
district.
gotcha. Okay, good. Oh, you got the same thing.
Well, not exact, yeah, I got it in black and white, you got it in color.
I'm special.
It's only in the red outlined areas on that map.
Gotcha. Okay. So this is the hill.
Oh, yeah.
This is not. This is already resi. It's out of the discussion. Yeah, this is the area that it's
Yeah.
tough,
Mhm.
especially for retail.
Right, yeah, I think we all recognize that.
Mhm.
I mean, it's possible.
Everything,
zoned for it.
anything's possible. It's a pattern.
So it
Is it
extends
viable?
down. Like I'm looking at this one, which was submitted in a letter to the zoning board, where it looks like it kind of jaggeds down, it goes to the north side of North Greeley, over towards the post office. On the, does it also go to the south side of North Greeley, like where 50
Yep.
North Greeley and?
Next to 50 North Greeley.
The little.
50 North Greeley is in the BR zoning district.
So that whole area could be, what we're talking about here would apply to that as well.
Yes,
just-
but you have to look at 51 North Greeley has a different special use permit right
Yeah.
now. You have the Verizon building, that nothing's changing with that. You have a town parking lot that will remain a town parking lot, and you have the US Post Office. So
Post
there's-
office could go away soon, who's mailing stuff.
I doubt that post office will go away.
I don't
But
think the federal government
Yeah.
gives up land that easily.
you'd be surprised.
And that's the developer dreamer in him.
Uh-oh.
No, it's just, yeah, I've always been focused on the hill,
Yes.
and maybe there's limitations to that other portion on the south side, which or the north side of North Greeley, which I think is ripe for some form of development. I mean, that's like throwing random stuff and seeing what sticks together. But I'm with the chairman is, is this being presented in the right direction? At the same time, I do know that the town board wants us to give them a memo and with our thoughts. So as we're going through it, I mean, Sabrina, I think where you were going through, I was in alignment with where, before I interrupted, your path.
I'm pushing for a memo.
Yeah, but this is a very complicated, just touching one or two or four aspects of it without touching the whole thing can also now open up other holes coming through here. So I'm a proponent of, we can put together a memo, but at the end of the memo needs to be, we need to talk with the town board and have a joint session of some sort to go through this stuff and give them, and have a collaborative work session.
The end of my memo says joint meeting between town board and planning board to understand the town board's goals. Let staff and planning board work out a draft to present to the town board and then the town board can adopt. That was the end of my memo.
I think we can give them our thoughts.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, our thoughts need to also be
Staff needs to say it works.
conveyed in
Yeah.
in a work session conversation of some sort, because that's what we're deputized with.
I think that makes
Can
great
I have
sense.
your notes? Okay.
Well, I'll make a picture. Yeah, so you could definitely,
Well, here's expanded upon different area on North Greeley. I don't know if you wanna say anything more.
I can
And-
it's code.
say you
Which-
think this zone should be separated
Separate and apart from the King Street
Yeah.
Hill.
and constraints aren't necessarily bad.
And then we go, our next topic have been explored. There was a sentiment that the proposed legislation seemed to be walking away, seem to change the goals.
So we have to, I think, elaborate on that. So we understand exactly what you mean there,
Well,
or what we mean, if we don't adopt that.
I'm trying to think of a good one.
I know.
I mean,
I see that.
Big picture, for the top 5 goals of the comp plan is more housing, is more diversified housing. For the top 5 goals of the
Because
I think
undercutting
it's making it more confusing. I thought the goal was,
Coming to you, telling you that there's conflicts
yeah,
and the back door are.
I mean, like the what, like, I
There's no need or not,
well, the,
correct?
right? I think there's still confusion left over from before. And when you go from a full acre down to a quarter,
Yeah.
so that doesn't make it more,
It
okay.
doesn't make it more confusing.
It maybe doesn't make it more confusing, but
That's
I
not the
still don't
right-
hear, I thought those incentives were great for developers to come in and try to think of creative ways to get,
Incentives that were there.
but we had talked about really
Right, I would argue that a goal of the legislation, I mean, one of the things we talked about last year was clarification. But I think, and that is, the goal is, one of the goals is to off, and what we have now, we're going to lose a good segment of what we have now.
Right.
And so therefore, it's undercut that and also not be, gigantically transformational in terms of the look and feel of King Street.
all different.
It depends, I mean, my sense is, cause we've seen a fair amount of this, actually, not so much on King, but Stan, it's been successful.
And they tend to be more affordable.
Exactly,
Right.
and for lots of reasons, first of all, it's a little bit easier, they've already got the parking,
They don't
so
have
they
a
don't have to
shell
buy the
there.
parking, exactly what we want to do and where we get to what we wanna do. So without that information, that's why I argued right from the get-go of the process, we don't have the information that we need to make these kinds of judgments and suggested, we have tax information, maps and
And we've had enough studies.
Yeah.
Housing in town.
yeah,
And it doesn't all have to be $4,000 a month,
be in terms of what the rents are, I mean, I think it's gonna be, my guess, fairly upscale.
affordable component in both of those.
Well, they're
buildings, right?
required, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
10%.
91 is the one on 117.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at
the
the top
top
of
of the hill.
That's
Like,
One of the other things is, I actually had some thoughts on some of those incentives, which I thought were,
Guys, let me refocus here.
Oh, okay.
oh, sorry.
Incentives have not been changed to really incentivize creative development. You can say that, more should be changed. Well, right, but those incentives are things that the development density
and I
to
would
reach
argue,
maximum permitted building.
and I would argue that some of those incentives are inappropriate, coverage, more parking, a bigger structure, et cetera, because it has green construction. Makes no sense to me. I think there's an incentive in here for there's 15% for like
Recreational facilities.
stuff on the site, like amenities. And I don't think those amenities should be, incentive options, they should be required. You should have some sort of space on those plots, I think, for patios, decks, outdoor living, grilling, whatever it might be. And that's not an incentive where if you do it as an option, you get an extra 15%.
an extra unit,
Well,
Right.
that makes sense.
Right?
We're talking about, and in the event though, that you do have a larger lot and you say, all right, I'm going to put a tennis court on there, so I'm giving up developable area, quality development.
if it's a public amenity, not a
Well, there's another one for public amenities.
Yeah, the town board, and I would, it's still impossible, you're never gonna
But you
level-
could see a pocket park, right? You
Right.
could have a nice
Yeah.
little pocket park on King
That
Street.
the town board wants,
Right,
exactly.
that if the developers, I'm just
There is
picking,
no going higher than 35 feet.
Exactly. But the
That's
issue.
Why not?
Good, but that's not in the code.
Okay, but we were talking about incentives.
Yes,
So
but
could
there's
height
no
be
incentive for height.
Okay,
No,
but if we could
You are
propose it.
limited to the listing of 11 incentives in
Right.
that code.
well, I suggest it should be 9.
11, okay.
10, I only got 10 here.
Four and 4A.
4 and 4A.
Oh, fine.
But 4 was retail, was rental apartments, and 4A was,
The stuff that you have in blue in here?
Yep.
yeah,
Okay, so
let's start with the
the
simple one.
MFRC shall not apply to properties located in the B, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah,
That's what
because
the
I
code
want
says
retail in the,
Attachment 3. What's 60 attachment 3?
It's the table.
That-
Here, and referring to that table, which is, so I think we're good with, and
Three.
green
That-
building practices such as green roofs and use of all electric utilities as.
No, but how does everyone else feel?
I mean, I think it's in the minutes from last meeting, put the bicycle rack out and you get some points, you put a shower in, you get some points. Is it really the materials often are costing more,
if
right?
you do a green roof to hold stormwater,
Right,
right? That is something that is beneficial.
right.
And you should,
It's more, and you should be able to recoup that cost, and we should incentivize people to do that kind of stuff.
because that's a benefit that helps stormwater system.
Yeah,
Are you okay with that change, adding that in there?
I'm good with, making those kinds amorphous.
Yeah,
yeah,
Well, that was for lack of a better reference.
I understand.
such, yeah.
But gives the authority for your board to
Yeah.
identify well good for the earth.
or for the village, town, hamlet.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Then that's your measurement of when somebody comes to you.
Utilities, I think the intent is, we're open to other ones, so,
Yes. Technology changes.
such as, but not limited to, a green roof.
Limited to,
Yeah.
right?
Well, or some,
Like
Well,
you,
there is a such as in there now.
Yeah.
Is that
that way we can do, there's more.
such as?
Last one, 1 acre to,
No, the last one is we're deleting the coverage, development coverage within the MFRC district.
I can't see that.
The new language that I just read, should that be blue? For that, is that new or
There is
old?
no required maximum permitted building coverage or maximum permitted development coverage within an MFRC district.
The proposed language, which it used to say for the purpose of these calculations, is this,
And sticking with the NA and the chart. Minimum permitted coverage downtown, and we turned that coverage into a community parking lot.
yeah, that's what you could have, you have a parking
Okay,
lot
you
with 100%
can't
coverage.
do that
right?
on the King Street
Dave
Hill.
Paradise?
Yeah.
Those properties are not set up like.
Utility runs and all this stuff.
And you have to understand,
have
a
some
certain
space
size property cannot do this, period. Which is not even being talked about.
right,
You
Right.
said,
It remains unchanged.
Got it.
I like, this is, obviously can't cover more than 100%, but as opposed to giving a guide, we can see whether or not, based on your application, there's room for more coverage or less coverage. This starting off with is no maximum, I can pipe it across the street, I can pipe it through this other neighbor's property. And they could, in theory. And of course, when they finally went to the neighbor and asked, the neighbor said, no, drop dead, you're not going through my property. Really stretched the truth. We had an applicant tonight who was extremely transparent, refreshingly so, and strikingly so compared to what. I find it very difficult because I know the kind of pressure that can be brought to bear by an applicant. And really pushing and threatening and all this kind of stuff, as opposed to saying, this is what you got, this is what you get, so consider incentives or otherwise to get to what you think is appropriate for the space, the property.
Go, they'll run with it. So if you wanna start with a base.
But then again, the other issue, arguing against myself on this, is we talked about flexibility, and each site is different. So
You don't have that ability. There are side yard setbacks or none. There's have to remain. You need the guide rail to 10 feet. Existing, they wanna be consistent with the
and that we need, this is a different distinct zone, and the 10-foot setback is inappropriate for the King Street zone. Drove down this today, I was looking very carefully, and the setbacks of these buildings are all different levels, different sizes, and different setbacks. And I think that, with different greenery because of it, consider. But maybe that's the starting position, then from there, we can consider something different.
different area on North Greeley. Right now, this change affects all three areas. Are you tolerable of that distance in certain areas and not certain areas, or just no? To 10 feet.
Right.
And so you have spoken about the difference in the setbacks that exist along that mid portion of the King Street Hill before the residential zone, right? There's the lower portion of the King Street Hill, and then there's the North Greeley side of the BR zoning district. If somebody wanted to do an MFRC on that side, are you opposed to 10 feet there? Zones.
Right.
Within the BR zoning district itself. Application of the MFRC in the Chappaqua Hamlet area appropriate for North Greeley Avenue may not be appropriate for the area. Cements your point more
Yes.
so
I think so.
than just saying we don't agree with the 10 feet.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so I can write it using the example, because out of all the changes that Jeff read, that seems to be the most problematic.
I mean, that's my biggest issue, that and eliminating any conflicts and ambiguity, because that's what it's creating a lot of these issues.
Okay,
Are we addressing all the conflicts?
yes. Yes. The only thing,
As you brought up, a quarter acre, that's a lot more, which is that,
well, what is a lot more?
We don't know, that's
wasn't 1 acre is like 3?
3,
Yeah.
right?
So if it's more than 10, that's a that's a 3 times as many right there. And I expect that there's more than 10 quarter acre lots in that area.
Could there be under current code or ADU or whatever you wanna talk about? So what are we talking about? How can we do it? How can a developer do it reasonably inexpensively? And how can
Projects on a half acre lot than on a quarter acre.
we talked about that for North Greeley for years. I mean, that would be the hope, someone would come in and consolidate on North Greeley and really do something.
Property values are too high.
Yeah.
Not gonna happen.
It's gotta be like Bedford, find one where you already got it approved.
Alright, is everyone happy?
Do we know how they came up with the quarter acre? Or they just picked that out of the sky, like they picked 10 feet?
I'm sure they looked at all the sizes of all the lots and looked at the number of lots that this would affect.
Do you have that chart by any chance?
Barn, and how many units are currently, approved and zoned for. And again, where do we, what's the number? What do we get to? And does that make sense? Does that make sense in terms of the discussion?
Can you come up to the microphone?
You have to come up to the microphone
Sorry, Jim.
so our fans can hear us.
I keep thinking, it sounds like we're just all here having a conversation. Does the town board, or is it sensible for all of us?
7,000,
Now it's 7, all right.
maybe 6,500.
It used to be when I was
Listen,
doing
don't
something else.
quote me on the number, but it's probably between
The
6,500 and
point was-
7,000.
So let's say there's 4,000 housing units.
I'm gonna get hammered on Facebook, I'm sure.
That's right.
I'm just saying, quote, does the town, including the town board and all the boards, does it have a goal set? Do we want 400 more units? Do we want 200 more units? Do we
Wow.
want, and I know we have different lot sizes, I know we have the condos, I know we have 4 and 5 acre lots and bigger lots. Do we wanna do that, like where you're all starting from is if you take the downtown area and just this King Street, that's a very small part of the entire town. But if we add all the other residential pieces, other residential lots, half acre, quarter acre, 1 acre, where what do they call them, auxiliary units could go.
Accessory dwelling units.
And what, for instance, in this specific case, if there's 40 units there now, 40 living units, and by making some of these changes, you got to 80, how does that relate to an overall goal? You know, that type of thing. So where you're thinking you have a potential goal, and or maybe you don't put it into law, but into this is what we think we should do, and how many of those should be lower income, workforce, etc. That would seem you'd have a goal that you could work to. Then changing these codes you would be doing that in better, I can't think of a better word than an orderly process. That's, you know, it seems like maybe it's something to think about, which I don't know that we have.
Right? We don't have that.
Thank you for that comment.
But we don't have that information.
We do not.
But you raise, I think you raise an important point, that what's the
Absolutely,
goal,
but-
what's the intent?
Yeah, I mean,
But
like,
honestly-
if we have 6,500 units in town, and if we wanted to do 1%, that'd be 65 units,
Yeah,
right? That could be a goal, 65 units a year, right? It's achievable, right? But we don't know what that goal is.
No, we don't know.
Or somebody may have a goal, but we don't know what it is.
Right,
And
but
our
I,
comprehensive plan doesn't even have that.
Yeah,
We
that
would
does
never have
not,
gotten that update, we have
Yeah.
never gotten that approved had it had numbers like that.
yeah, the plan never, it just said housing stock, increase it.
and then the other issue that you introduced is not just the number, density for density purposes, but what's the mix, what's the texture?
The type,
What do you,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So those are really, really big, important questions, and you know, as soon as you start asking those kinds of questions, you have tumult because people start arguing what they
We
want.
see that tunneling with every project that comes in.
Oh, yeah,
You guys haven't really seen a lot, cause there's not a lot happening. But it used to be very tumultuous.
yes. So that's, but those are, I mean, for example, I mean, whatever seems to be reasonable for the Kings, thank God, we're just looking at King Street, looking at that small area. What could it what's the capacity? What does it look like if we adopt this and we give the maximum incentives? Okay, and what would it be if we just did it incrementally with ADUs? I suggest that the difference really would not be that significant. And for the impacts,
The problem with ADUs, I will tell you, is that there is a lot depth issue.
on what?
A
lot
lot
depth,
depth
yeah.
issue, right? And so we're not dealing with very long lots or even very wide lots. We're talking a narrow window. And for those few properties, a quarter acre or more, that may have a little more land, they could potentially, instead of having 2 units, have 4 units.
Yeah, that's
It's
and that's
nominal.
but that's the that's the study that needs to be done to know what that number is. That's exactly what I'm driving at.
I know.
And all
And we
the-
don't have that. If we had that information, I think it would make the case one way or the other to say, town board, if this is what you wanna do, plan B is the way to go, which is to go to the quarter acre and do it as we're proposing, or to do it incrementally with ADUs, because what is that delta?
Well, according to this diagram that was attached to a letter to the zoning board, there's, for my eyesight, which is failing at this point, approximately 10 lots in
10 units?
10 lot, well, I'm
10 lots.
10 lots,
that are
I see.
quarter
lots
acre?
from quarter acre to over 0.33, over a
So
third,
10 lots fall into the category,
yeah.
you know, maybe, you know, that doesn't mean all 10 lots are coming in tomorrow for redevelopment.
Oh, of course not, right?
Yeah.
But it just means there's 10 possibilities.
Yeah, and that's on King, and then it looks like on North Greeley, there's another 3 at the end, past the post office.
I mean, I know this is going way
13
off.
lots,
Pardon?
13.
You have this memorized.
Well, you just gave out 10 and 3, it was easy for me to add.
I mean, I know this goes off topic, but you're talking about alternate units, like the application we just had, you know, they've got the garage. They're building an unfinished garage, you know, that would be, if we could incentivize them to put a unit on top of that garage, right? But I mean, I know it's not, that would just be a way for the town to get more housing.
Yeah, but
That-
they have a septic system.
Well, I'm not just saying though, if that would be like a perfect opportunity for somebody, make your septic system bigger and put in another unit there and then you can rent it out. That just gets more housing
But
stock.
that's allowed now.
I know it's a lot, but we as a board aren't encouraging people to do that.
Shame on you.
Well, when they come back next week, I'm not
And
gonna
you can
approve
ask
them.
Give S&H green stamps if you come in with an application that we like.
But that would be, if we had, I mean, we can't tell them, hey, do
Comprehensive
that.
plan says we need housing. However, the comprehensive plan also says leave our single family neighborhoods alone.
Right, but we lately have been seeing more single family homes coming in trying to add ADUs, right? We have been seeing that, we had those people
It's
like
kind
2
of
months ago.
dwindled again, I think.
Two months ago, those people had the 5-bedroom house where they were pulling out the bedroom of their house to put an ADU on top of their
Yeah,
garage.
for their,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm saying, if we
Well, that
can
was
set,
one in how many?
Well, we had a
But
couple.
the
I don't
point
think
I'm
anyone
making
has
is
been one since
we
I've
gotta start somewhere.
I know. I
Right?
know.
So if we can start incentivizing those
Well,
people,
we have a
we
lot
can
of
chip
them.
away.
Those are the ones that we know about.
Yeah, there was a rash when we first had the law for a while, not rash, several.
Right.
But it really has dwindled.
Careful of your wording.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Planning
dwindled
board
because
chairman talks about rash of ADUs.
I just think if we promote it, maybe we can get more going.
Incentivize it.
Incentivize it.
You wanna blow that clearing and grading limit line?
No, because they're doing it in existing structures on the site already.
You wanna expand your driveway?
No.
Yeah, right.
I'm kidding.
But it
Getting punchy.
yeah, but it's all the constraints that
I know.
we deal with.
Mhm.
On the one hand, you
Oh,
wanna
I
do these
know.
kinds of things and you start doing it, then then the guy's
Every
got stockpile in his
application that
backyard
is-
and people are upset.
Listen, every application that's come before you, it's about the clearing and grading limit line and the wetland buffer. Every single one.
Lately.
There's your limitation.
Yep. And the comprehensive plan says, leave our wetlands alone, protect our wetlands, protect
yeah.
our trees.
Yep.
Develop where you have the infrastructure to support it.
Well, I think one of the key takeaways, maybe the key takeaway is this time around, we didn't get it with Bess, is to really press the town board for our joint meeting.
So I will amend this
Because and we can
for
let them know
chairman's
that
signature.
we can let them know that whatever we write in this memo, and we've had this many times. First of all, it doesn't capsulize everything we've talked about, some of which is nonsensical, but some is really very good. And in fact, in past years when we've had people write dissents from the planning board's memo. I mean, we had that time, what was his name? Remember, he wrote the dissent, which was a great dissent. He wrote his own separate memo on the form-based code. What was his name? I can't think. Anyway.
I blocked all that out.
Was it a lot? Was it
It was-
Adele?
No.
Who?
Anyway.
Tom?
No. Well, Tom wrote dissents on everything, so.
I mean, we did the whole form-based stuff with what's his face, right?
Anyway,
Boy, this is really good
With what's
conversation.
Who was
I'm
that guy?
like,
Who was that consultant?
There's a big black box
You know,
around my
who's this?
memory of that time.
What was that consultant? I don't remember.
Well, not the consultant, was a member of the planning board.
Kimley Horn.
Yes, that's
yeah.
right. That's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay, so let's just wrap this up if you don't mind. So I will edit this tomorrow. I will send everybody a revised draft memo.
Okay.
I would like all of your approvals. Can I ask for that within 24 hours? So if I send it to you Wednesday, by Thursday, so that I can prepare it for the chairman's signature.
yes,
Sure.
Okay?
Does everybody agree to check their emails?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, by tomorrow afternoon, you will have a revised draft to review to get back to me by Thursday afternoon.
I like the last sentence, I just wanna say that, I think it
Okay.
really sums up the whole conversation.
Right, are you gonna hand that to me?
No, it's right here.
I gave mine to her. What's the last
I
sentence?
just wanna be able to copy it.
Establishing, the one that says establishing a code, et cetera.
Yeah, I like that too. I didn't cross that one.
Yeah, you kept that one.
Get that one.
I'm gonna keep some of that stuff.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
all right. We don't need a
You have to do
motion.
minutes.
Yeah, we don't need a motion for this discussion.
I think we just have the minutes.
Exactly.
Actually, you do.
You
You
need a motion to draft?
you need to talk about amending the draft per the conversation this evening, circulating it to all the planning board members by Thursday night for chairman's signature.
Okay, such a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we have the minutes of May 19th.
No comments.
Any changes?
No. I'm good.
I have one little thing, I'll just give to you. Anyone else? So is there a motion to adopt the minutes of May 19th
As amended,
As
with your one
amended?
little thing.
as amended?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Motion to close?
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.